Croatia, who will take a 2-0 advantage into that second tie on Sunday. Let's welcome in Julien Laurent. Jules, when this squad was announced, there was so much excitement around it. What went wrong today?
Well, a lot of things went wrong. To start with, the start of the game was not good enough. I don't think that first half from this French team was good enough. Technically, they kept making mistakes. Defensively, they were a bit all over the place. We said Konate, who came off at halftime, by the way, for Upamecano, from a decision by Deschamps, not through injury or anything like that, but he could have taken off probably Koundé or even Saliba at the same time because they were just not good enough. The line was poor. They were covering each other all the time. It was just not good. And then in midfield, Luka Modric just bossing the game and running the show again. And there's nothing that Rabiot, who clearly maybe was still affected by what happened in the Classic on Sunday, but was not into the game. Neither was Guendouzi, to be fair, or Tchouameni. So it's difficult when in a game like this against such a good team as Croatia, in Croatia too, if your midfield doesn't have a hold on the game. And in terms of forward, to be fair, I don't think the starting lineup worked anyway. Colomwani, why is Colomwani there? He was anonymous completely in the first 60 minutes that he played. He should have never started in that game. And Mbappe had a couple of good shots, and in the end, the French expected goal is higher than the Croatia one, even with the penalty for Croatia. So it was not all bad, but overall they just didn't deserve to win this game.
Jules, overall, obviously, eyes on Kylian Mbappe, given what the narrative was leading up to this tie, back from that kind of sabbatical, if you like, that he had from Deschamps. How was his performance today?
I don't think it was too bad. First time in 6 months that he was back with the national team, so there was a lot of noise around it, obviously. He gave a few interviews to control the narrative, I think, on Monday, Tuesday, and then did the press conference yesterday as the team captain, really. I thought he tried hard. That front two with Colomwani didn't work in the first half. He was better in the second half, like the rest of the team, when they went back to something a little bit more traditional, let's put it that way, in a flat 4-4-2. But at times he's just forcing it too, and I think he needs a bit more time. And he also needs the rest of the team to play better. Again, the midfield was not good enough today. And really, apart from Dembele and Mbappe, they were the only one trying something with the ball.
Looking ahead to Sunday, of course, we won't see that same three-man midfield, will we?
Surely not. And we can't see Colomwani either. I'm sorry, but he started well at Juventus after his move in January. The last 5-6 games have been terrible for him. He was terrible in this game. And again, the midfield, Tchouameni, I think, is probably nailed on. But Rabiot and Guendouzi was not good enough. Didn't bring enough. And again, the technical ability of the Croatian midfield was just too good for these French to get control of that area of the pitch. And in games like this is one of the keys. And they were just not good enough. So you can expect changes.
Meanwhile, for Croatia, Luka Modric, the man, playing 90 minutes. Everyone's complaining about tiredness and minutes of Real Madrid at the moment. But he's there, and as Jules says, he's dictating this midfield.
He's incredible. As are Croatia, by the way. We talked about this in the show the other night in terms of countries with, relatively small populations, as Croatia are, under 5 million, I believe, still churning out these kind of performances, these kind of players. Now, they maybe don't quite have the player pool that they once had, but he's one of the, along with Perisic, still sort of hanging around.
Yep.
Still has a desire to go and play for his country. These are glorified friendlies at the end of the day, Nations League, but he's still there, still playing great. There he's making a tackle on one of the most dangerous players in world football in the box. He's toe poking it away, he's having a bash at him. He's really taking it serious. And then you have Perisic, who's now playing at PSV Eindhoven. You're thinking that they'll all have packed international football in, as most players seem to do now. Oh, thanks very much, I've had enough. Just churning out game after game, but not just turning up and making up the numbers to pad the stats of, I've got X amount of caps.
Yeah.
Actually still making a difference. And Perisic, in particular, Luka Modric, is still making a difference. Now, can he have the same effect for Real Madrid? I don't think so, usually coming off the bench. But for Croatia, he just seems to be able to do something special. I think international football probably suits him a little bit more. Generally, it's a little bit of a slower pace, more of a game of chess, so he doesn't have to charge around the field like he does in the domestic game. And I think that just suits the fact that he's at that age where he doesn't want to be doing that. He can control the football, he can help control the midfield, and the one thing you're never going to lose, your ability to pass the ball. You'll always lose the ability to get around the pitch, like with the sharpness that you once had, but you never ever lose that ability to see a pass and play a pass. and he's still doing that, certainly for his country.
And truth be told, and to use your phrasing, glorified friendly, you see what it means to Croatia. For some of these smaller nations in world football, they get these opportunities, even when you have a player with a CV like the likes of Luka Modric. And truth be told, 2-0 flattered France, in all honesty. I mean, it could and should have been so much more. Croatia with that much better.
The expected goals would be, as Jules said, for France.
Livakovic had one save of note to make, the deflected Kylian Mbappe effort. Other than that, everything just looked routine, just looked simple for him. Maybe he made it look routine and simple. Credit to him for that. But there was only one side in this, and I'm not sure how was.
You're making a mockery of expected goals.
Well, no, I'm a lover of expected goals myself.
Mikel Moreno is a guy who will score goals from the middle of the park.
So all to play for then, the second leg, which will be in Valencia on Sunday. Jules is still with us. Craig, we watched this one. It was fun.
It was fun, and it was fun because it was a game where it wasn't total domination from Spain. And I know there's been a change in the philosophy. When the new manager came in, they had success at the Euros. There wasn't as much possession-based game. It was more vertical, for want of a better phrase. It was getting it forward quicker. But they still do possess the ball and they can dominate teams. But the fact that the Dutch, albeit they were at home, did not sit back and allow Spain to do what they wanted and wanted to make a game of it and realised they could get at the fullbacks, realised they could use Frimpong's pace, realised that, Depay coming short, they can get runners from the middle of the park. And Gakpo, I think, is, I know he's not been playing as much recently for Liverpool, but I think he's been brilliant. I think he's a real goal threat, continuous goal threat from that left-hand side. We've seen it for club, we've seen it for country. And I think, talking about midfield, I thought the Dutch midfield was actually pretty strong. De Jong's not had much game time at Barcelona, but he'll get some now because Marc Casado is out. But I thought him and Reinders, in particular, very experienced players. Obviously, Reinders playing in Milan. I thought they were excellent, and I think that drove the Dutch forward. Obviously, Memphis Depay hasn't got much pace, but they got pace in the wide areas. And I got to say, I was very impressed with the way Ronald Koeman's side played. At the back, it was Van Dijk with Van Hecke from Brighton. So a few changes in there as well, a few unusual names. But I just felt that if anybody thinks now back in Spain, I think it's in Valencia, that this is going to be easy pickings for the Spanish, I would think again. I was quite actually surprisingly impressed with Koeman's team tonight.
Ronald Koeman doing a good job, Jules. Your favourite person?
The Dutch guy. Yeah, and to be fair, I think they will be frustrated because they considered that really late goal from Merino in 93rd minute when they probably thought they had the win. And I think the draw is probably fair because Spain were good, even if Lamine Yamal didn't have a good game. And it's very rarely that we say that on the show, right? But to the point that he came off after an hour, which again is really, really rare. And even without a good Lamine Yamal, the Spain team was still great at time, to be fair. But I thought that was really, really good game. A game that I wish the Croatia-France was as good as that. But yeah, two really good teams. And I think the game in Valencia on Sunday would be good too. But you have to say that Spain have a small advantage now.
Anything you'd like to add, Shaq?
No, thanks, Dan.
All right, OK. Well, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
I wish Dad had that luxury.
I think that's it for Jules. Jules, just one word. Frimpong, obviously, good for Bayer Leverkusen last couple of seasons. How much in demand could he be this summer? And is some which you feel could be a bit of a transition for the Bundesliga club?
Yeah, I think he's been given a way out. I think Leverkusen are happy to let him go. I think his release clause is around 40 million euros, which is a really good value for him, I think. Obviously, he's very good as a wing back more than as a right back in a back four. And today, like Craig said, he played above Gertruda in a more attacking style than just a right back, where we've seen him before with the national team, but not with the same efficiency really than when he plays as a wing back or as a winger like he did a little bit tonight. But there will be a lot of clubs in England as well. A lot of top clubs are following him.
Not a former Celtic player, just a conveyor belt of quality.
Didn't he start at Manchester City? Isn't that where the conveyor belt starts?
Well, everybody talks about this great recruitment at Liverpool and so forth, with great signings like Van Dijk. Right. Who took Van Dijk from Groningen?
Craig, I've enough of your pro-Celtic ways all the time.
Before he
All
then
the
went
time.
to Southampton.
Tried to curry favour with all those fans that hate you
Stop
now.
going on about Celtic.
Yeah.
Groningen to Celtic, Celtic to Southampton before they all jumped on the bandwagon. Oh, look at our recruitment.
Is that it for Jules now? Jules, thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated.
Thanks,
You guys.
Well, I mean, I think as you saw there, Spalletti had asked Italy to try to create more, be more daring. And look, both Italy and Germany right now, some big pieces out, right? And I think they did that. And I think, in the first half especially, they played well. You saw those Baumann saves. They missed the opportunity to score that second goal. And then, once again, set pieces, which have kind of really been an issue, set pieces, headers, for this Spalletti version of Italy, ultimately undoing them. I mean, really big screw up between Di Lorenzo and Bastoni, two guys who really should know better for the Tim Kleindienst equalizer. And then on the second one, as I understand it, I mean, Goretzka does well to go across. It's a difficult header, but the reason you have a guy at the near post is for him to attack the ball. So because the marker's not going to get to him, and that's pretty much what happened. So well done, Germany.
How much pressure is there on Italy, if anything, given their record of late gap going into ties like this? What's the expectations around this side?
I think the expectations right now are just to play good football, to play attacking football. I mean, I don't think there's any sense that this tie is over by any stretch, right? I mean, they have to go to Dortmund and big stadium and whatever else, but Germany clearly have their failings as well. Clearly are vulnerable as well. So I think the expectation will be to try to win it in Germany. But right now, I think you're looking for performances. And, again, we saw a performance. It's baby steps for this Italy side. But there's a lot of positive takeaways. Tonali, Barella, for the goal. We didn't see it in the highlights because they started too late. But Bastoni had a ridiculous patented crossfield ball, which made that possible. And certainly the chances were there. Baumann in the Germany goal doing very, very well.
Yes, indeed. Just a reminder, the Bundesliga continues on ESPN Plus next weekend. Obviously, international football dominates for now, but it all returns on March the 28th. Bayer Leverkusen taking on Bochum, and then on the Saturday, it's Bayern Munich against St. Pauli. In the second leg, it's Denmark win this tie by 1-0. This wasn't one of our feature games in our green room, Gab. What can you tell us about this?
This was one of the worst Portugal performances that I can remember. Again, wow. I don't want to take away from Denmark. They tried different solutions. Højlund, who scored there, he came on. Biereth from Monaco started up front, created a bunch of chances. You saw Christian Eriksen missing the penalty there, which would have sent the game on its way. Bruno Fernandes did nothing. Cristiano, that header was probably the best thing he put together. And while I disapprove of people mocking him, I think he'd be the first one not to be happy with this performance. And look, I mean, this Denmark side, not irresistible. I don't know if maybe the Champions League exertions took too much out of Vitinha and Jean Neves. Lau had another one of his ghost games. And I got to say something about Renato Vega. He moves to Chelsea, decides he wants to play center half. And Enzo Maresca says, I'd love to have hair, but that can't happen. And that's his way of saying you can't play center back. He moves to Juventus. Juventus, for whatever reason, decides, oh yes, let's have him play center back. He wants to play center back, and he plays center back for Juventus. Not very well. Now, all of a sudden, he gets to play center back for Portugal just because he wants to. You saw him give away the penalty. I think he was pulled this way and that all evening. Gave Ruben Diaz, who's playing alongside him, fits. So, not good. I think there's a lot for Roberto Martinez to fix. They're only a goal down, so they can turn it around, but they need to do a lot better.
Does Ronaldo start on Sunday, Gab?
Are you asking him or are you asking me? I mean,
I wonder what his answer would be.
Look, you can't put all of this on Cristiano, right? That chance that he had was probably his best chance. The pieces around him aren't working. If you're Portugal, you do have a number of options, and hopefully, if a Portugal fan, Roberto will go and consider all of them. But it can't be down to simply Cristiano. So I think there's a good chance, if he feels ready, that he'll start. But the rest of the team has to step up.
Just one more thing on Portuguese players. We've seen that Chelsea have acquired 2 more. Gab, what's the story here? Why do they keep buying these young midfielders when maybe someone suggests they need a striker?
Not just that, it's 2 guys from Sporting. So you wonder, why doesn't Ruben Amorim and Manchester United, why don't they go and sign these guys? 2 different profiles. Dario Suga, defensive midfielder. He actually hasn't played very much for Sporting. He's been on loan at Las Palmas. He was at Chavez, I think, before that. I'm guessing he's there to maybe compete with Andre Santos, who of course is on loan at Strasbourg, to be Caicedo's backup. Giovanni Kenda, you may remember from the Champions League, very exciting player. He's that kind of, in the Amorim system, he was the sort of the right-sided wing back, but really he's so attacking. He's more of a winger. I mean, the kid is only 17 years old, doesn't turn 18 until the end of next month. So still very, very raw. But I think Chelsea are short on wingers as well until we figure out what happens with Mykhailo Mudryk. So I see the logic in that one. I think Kenda has a good chance of sticking around and maybe having an impact at Chelsea next season if Maresca likes him.
It is tight at the top of the Liga. Of course, Barcelona, with that game that needs to be played against Osasuna. Alex came on this week and said it will probably be on next Thursday, and that's exactly when it will take place. Gab Marcotti is with us. Gab, the issue is, obviously, when you take a look at the fact that you've got Rafinha playing for Brazil against Argentina on a Tuesday in South America, then expected to play, what, Barcelona against Osasuna at Montjuic on the Thursday?
That's why they're unhappy. Osasuna, of course, unhappy as well that they're playing so close to the break. But this is the issue. And it's Barcelona's fault for being too good, for having gone too far in these competitions. If you look at the schedule, Barcelona don't have a free date really until much later than that. If they advance against Borussia Dortmund, really, I think their next free date is the week before the last week of the season, assuming they get to the Copa del Rey final as well. The calendar is just too tight. All this midweek Liga football. I mean, guys, leagues need to think about this because stuff does happen. Games do need to get postponed. So I don't know if there's any good time to do it. Now, could they have said, well, if Rafinha and others have to play on 2 days rest, are we better off doing it later in the season? Yeah, but then the whole team has to play on 2 days rest. I'm not sure what the better solution is other than leaving it until the very end, but I can understand why the rules in La Liga say you have to play it on the first available date because you don't want to have a situation where, given how tight it is at the top of La Liga, you go into the final day and, in Barcelona, have a chance to go and become champions a week by playing, making up their game a week after everybody else. That's not a good situation either.
What are your thoughts on this?
What else can you do? It's not ideal, but I mean, unfortunately, the game was cancelled because the doctor lost his life, so the game had to be cancelled. That's totally understandable. They already had a packed schedule. So it's a really, really difficult scenario. But it is, unfortunately, what it is. And they play on the Tuesday. I don't know about time zones and whatnot, but it's going to be late Wednesday at the earliest, maybe early hours of Thursday before 1 or 2 of those players are back. So it's just not an ideal scenario. I just don't know what the answer is.
But it could be a scenario that decides La Liga, Shaq.
Yeah, it could. And in all honesty, it is an extraordinary scenario given the doctor's passing. And on the one hand, you want to make an argument for there being some kind of a buffer or something of the sort, but you can't cater for every circumstance that may happen.
Do you think Real Madrid would play this game?
Given what Ancelotti said last week, no.
Well, they would have to play it for 72 hours.
But it's just kind of odd, well, not odd, but funny that it comes so soon after Ancelotti making that statement last week. Now all of a sudden you have Barcelona, 2 of them contending at the top. So it just throws in this scenario. But you feel for both teams and you question the packed calendar, but you can't cater for every single circumstance that may or may not kind of happen.
Go on, Gav.
But sorry, can we also bring a little bit of sanity back into this? This isn't like the whole team is playing on Tuesday night in South America and then they come back and we have to play again. We're talking about Araujo, who may or may not start, and we're talking about Rafinha, who, yes, is a very, very important player. But it's one guy, and they have to fit this somewhere in the calendar. I understand it would be better if there was a free day. I mean, if they want to forfeit the Dortmund game in the Champions League so they can go and play this game, then, hey, they can have they can have the semifinal date. But I'm sure they'd rather advance and play in the semifinals. It's not as if they have half their starting 11 now. I mean, look who these players are. Look where they play. They will have enough time to recuperate. Certainly, the Spanish players, the French players will be playing on, I think it's Sunday night, so they can come back and they have a whole couple days to prepare, and that's the bulk of this Barcelona side.
I'm at that stage. I don't know about you guys. I'm at that stage with, particularly these two Spanish teams, where they're really getting on my wick.
Oh, come on. This is silly, though, isn't it? You've got your best player.
Yeah,
I don't think you can put them both in the same basket here. I don't think you can put them in the... Real Madrid moaning about what they're having to go through, I don't think is the same
Real Madrid,
as this.
the crux of Real Madrid's problem wasn't, I don't think, the 72 hours. It's the fact Barca played on the Tuesday and then played on the Sunday. They played on the Wednesday and played on the Saturday. That's why they threw all their toys out of the pram. But at the end of the day, this is a scenario that's literally unavoidable because of unforeseen circumstances. Nobody whines more than these two. And I'll give you this, Real Madrid have done most of it. Absolutely done most of it. Ridiculous, about 72 hours and all that. We don't live in an ideal world. You just, as Gab said, it's far from ideal. It is. But it's just another hurdle that if you're going to win the league, you're going to have to get over, right? And these two teams, and it's not going to stop, but it just...
I don't know why you're putting Barcelona in the same basket as Real Madrid. I don't think Barcelona really moaned this season.
Are they not moaning about this?
Well, they've appealed it. They lost the appeal. That was it.
Right, why are we talking about it then? The game's going on.
Because we have the game live on ESPN Plus, Craig, that you can see next Thursday.
Well, I'm not talking about it.
That's why we're looking ahead to it.
Listen, I have no problem with either club complaining. That's what they do. That they fight their own fights. They win some, you lose some.
But my point, nobody does it more than these two.
But here's my point. But again, for me, you're entitled to that. That's fine. Teams have to go without their African players every so often, and you understand that when you sign players from outside of Europe, that them being away or that travel is part and parcel. But you want to have the best players on the planet. That's, again, it's a pro and con to it, which you sign up for. I have no problem with you being upset. None at all. But you know what you sign up for when you sign this quality of player.
So that'll be this time next week. Barcelona against Osasuna live here on ESPN Plus.
Sign some Scottish players. They'll get back in time.
A 3-point lead at the top of the table. Of course, these games then have still yet to be confirmed then what is going to happen as a result of that game being next Thursday. We'll end today's show then with this.
And I'll start from number 10.
Right.
Betis and Anthony, all of a sudden on an absolute tear. They've lost one in their last 9. They're up into up into 10. Sporting run away in Portugal.
Where are they in the league, Shaka?
Shaka, how can Atletico Madrid be 8th considering they're weak?
What happened in their week?
Lost against Getafe, out of the Champions League.
Okay.
Lost against Barcelona, yet you still got them in the top 8.
But they're still in that 3-horse race at the top of La Liga. Just leave me alone.
Wow, they've had the worst week.
Stop taking my time to talk about Atletico Madrid. I'm not interested in that. Go through the rest. Number 1.
Well, just go to... Oh, you just really fast forward.
So, yeah, never mind all the others. Never mind 2 through 10. Number 1. Newcastle United, the Carabao Cup champions, 70 years in the making. I've enjoyed every moment of that. That's all I wanted to say. That's all.
What did Real Madrid do to go down to 4?
I don't know. I can't remember. Number 1 is Newcastle, Dan.
What you should have done, Shaq.
That's number 1 is Newcastle, Dan.
Really? And I think you should have just left the other 9 blank.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about Newcastle, isn't it?
It's all we should be talking about this whole show.
can't believe Atleti are in the top 10. Their worst week ever.
Nobody talk about them.
Betis,
Newcastle #1 though.
Manuel Pellegrini.
Shaka. Gab, what would you like to say about this?
Who am I to argue? The Tune Army winning their first title. I want to say it hasn't been 70 years. Let's not forget they did win the Intercity Fairs Cup in 1968, I believe. And well, that became the Europa League. That's important. That gives them, that gives you access to the Champions League or one of
God,
If that wasn't a cry, if that wasn't a cry for Tommy's top 25. I don't know what.
that is it. That brings us to the end of today's show.
Newcastle #1, Dan.
Well, yes, I understand that bit, but the rest you just literally went, what a...
Yeah, I did.
I fully understand it. To be fair, nothing new, is it? Stay with us. Extra Time is next. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Gab Marcotti joins us alongside Craig and Shaka. Gab, is Ronaldo the only player stopping this golden generation of Portugal?
What, is he like holding them back, you mean? Is that the question?
That's the suggestion.
No, that's absolutely ridiculous. No, I think some players are holding themselves back, and I point to Rafael Leao, who in terms of gifts, of ability, should be one of the best wingers in the world. Certainly at the back, like I said, Renato Vega makes my eyes hurt every time I see him play. But yes, the others, João Neves, Vitinha, that's all very, very exciting. But you can't blame Cristiano Ronaldo for everything. You can blame him for many things, but no, he's not holding them back. And Roberto Martinez knew he was going to be there when he took the job. Presumably had a plan for Cristiano. The taboo of dropping Cristiano, if you think you can do better without him, was already broken in the World Cup. I think even Cristiano would be, I want to say, okay with it, but I think public opinion in Portugal would be okay with it if you put together a winning side. So you can't use Cristiano as an alibi for your own shortcomings.
He's not the... I stand by this. He's not the problem. The problem here is if you're forward thinking to the 2026 World Cup, which is what Portugal have to do, that is what from here?
18 months.
Give or take, right? There's no way, or maybe there is, that Portugal can go into that with a Cristiano Ronaldo what's he going to be then, Gab, in his 40s?
He's already in his 40s.
So yes.
Right, so you're looking at somebody almost 40.
Like you, Shaka.
Oh, Shaq, yeah. knocking on a bit. So my point is if you're progressive thinking about how you're going to take this country forward, and they have got some talented players, and I do agree with Rafael Leao, he's such a frustrating player, but you have to look to the future and say, right, can I go into a World Cup with Cristiano Ronaldo well in my 40s then, as a guy that's going to lead the line? The previous tournaments will tell you the answer to that is no, and that was the World Cup and the last Euros we just had, where Fernando Santos dropped him at the World Cup, and at the Euros he wasn't very productive. So that's only going to get worse. He's only going to get slower. Mother Nature is catching up, and the big issue I have here is that the longer this manager leaves it, the more difficult it is going to be.
For Gab, which title race objectively is more compelling? Serie A or La Liga?
I have to say La Liga, simply because, with all my love for Serie A, there are bigger stars. I still think it's a legit three-way race. I do not think Atleti are out, and also you have two of the three teams who are still competing on all fronts, right? Who are still competing for trebles in Real Madrid and Barcelona, and we have a Classico coming up. Whereas in Italy, you have Inter. Simone Inzaghi likes to remind us, are competing for the quadruple, because he's counting the Club World Cup, of course. But the reality is, Atalanta are out of everything. Napoli are out of everything. Atalanta, I think their defeat this past week, it doesn't cut them out, but it sets them back a little bit. So still compelling, still more exciting than Liverpool with their 29-point lead in the Premier League. So I'll give you that. But yeah, for me, it's La Liga. Live on ESPN, I'm told.
See your name on
I
that.
believe so.
It's the most thankless job.
Steve Nichols' personal
It's the most thankless
Big
task.
shout out today to Vitor, who works on this show, who was given the unwanted task of helping Stevie fix his computer.
Let me tell you something.
So who told him to go up and help Stevie?
I had a front row seat to that. I was
Talk us through it,
hilarious.
Shaq. What did you see?
Oh, hour and a half of Vitor literally banging his head on the deck.
And what contribution was Stevie making?
None. Stevie was just there going, I told you. Honestly, it was the funniest thing ever. Poor Vitor.
Vitor, he learned one of life's great lessons today.
Yeah,
If he didn't
yeah.
already know that, maybe it was just because he's a nice guy, that never, ever, ever, even when asked, even if it comes right from the top, do not go up there to help him at his desk with any computer or technical issues.
so funny.
Because it's a long, laborious, drawn-out affair that came to it hit the buffers, and it hit the buffers without any resolution.
No,
So
2
it has
hours
to be
nothing was
And Stevie finished up with, well, thanks for nothing. Yeah.
poor kid.
Oh, God, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
I tell you,
boy.
so this is the thing, Vitor didn't realise. I tell you how long Stevie knew it was going to be. He brought lunch in.
He brought lunch in for me to say thank you for helping, but I came in late today, so Vitor got the...
See, you're
Got the
soft.
claws.
You're soft.
No, I don't mind helping.
No, but you
Stevie,
help
it's
him.
fine.
If he even looks at me for help with the computer,
No, I
he's
know.
getting-
No,
because
but I just feel bad for him.
Why?
Because
But
he's
the-
so incompetent.
Yeah, but this is my problem. If you continue to do something for somebody, they'll never learn.
He's never going to learn anything.
He'll have to.
He won't. Great.
Sack him.
Sack him.
Sack him.
That's it.
Right, come on.
Who has provided more value for money, Shaq? Kai Havertz or Darwin Núñez?
Kai Havertz. I can't offer much. I can't offer much more than that. But Kai Havertz.
Yeah, I would probably. Yeah. I mean, he started the bulk of all the games.
Yep.
Núñez is.
Yes,
you know,
bit part. But Liverpool have won
Gav's
things
not
with
pleased.
Núñez in the squad, and not Arsenal haven't won anything with Kai Havertz in the
I'm
squad.
not a huge fan of either, if I'm being honest.
There we go. Gab?
I'm a big fan of Kai Havertz. I think
Right.
all of his nonsense that he
here we
gets,
go.
not a center forward, false 9, false 8, false 12. Look, we see what happens. The man gets hurt, and Arsenal lay a turd
Yeah.
every week since then.
Yeah,
right?
take that.
So,
Yeah, it's nothing to do with Saka.
Kai
We
Havertz
have to
has scored a goal to win a Champions League final, right?
Where have they laid the top? They're in the quarter-final of the Champions League. They're playing Real Madrid. They were already behind Liverpool in the league. That's really they're not behind them where they are now because
I quite like that phrase.
I
Anyway,
wonder why are Arsenal looking to buy a striker? Oh, I wonder.
who is under more pressure?
Are they really? Like the one they bought in January?
Didn't they offer Ollie Watkins 10p to come?
So they say.
Well, they're going to buy a striker in the summer, otherwise they're never going to win the league, and he's going to get sacked. End of story.
There you go. Who's under more pressure at their respective clubs, Gab? Motta, Amorim, or Postecoglou?
Oh, good question. So I think Amorim, of those three, Amorim is under the least amount of pressure because he just arrived, and I think they would look absolutely ridiculous. Not that Jim Ratcliffe finds other ways to look ridiculous, but no, I think of the three, Amorim is pretty much safe. Postecoglou's in his second season, which is not a great situation to be in. I think if they do something in the Europa League, that may help, but certainly his job is clearly in jeopardy. I think of the three, I think Thiago Motta is the biggest question mark. Now, the club like the fact that he's gone in a different direction. He's given space to younger players, homegrown players, and so on. And but by the same token, the football he plays is just horrendous. He moves players all over the pitch willy-nilly. He doesn't. Their biggest asset, at least on their books, is Dusan Vlahovic, and the poor man can't get on the pitch. Before they signed Colomwani, we even saw Tim Weah play centre forward. He moves players all over the pitch. And can I mention Renato Vega again? And Lloyd Kelly? I mean, seriously, who are these guys, right? Coming in, playing for the club. His relationship with the fans isn't good. His relationship with some senior players isn't good. Guys he didn't want, like, say, Moise Kean and Nicola Fagioli, going elsewhere and doing really, really well. All these things do not bode well for Thiago Motta. So, yeah, I would say he's in the most jeopardy, followed by Postecoglou. I think Ruben Amorim is going to be fine this summer.
Gab, you can keep this brief. What are the chances Fabregas gets a bigger job in the near future if he keeps Como up?
I think he's going to be offered a bigger job. I think Como have done they play really good football. They've made some good signings. There's obviously a lot of money behind the club as well. I think he'd like to stay another season and really build something and see if they can consolidate. He's a guy who takes his time in his own development, and I think he'd be very careful about the next job he's offered. Now, obviously, if some huge club comes along and offers him the gig, I'm sure he would consider it, but he wants to develop in his own pace as a coach.
Final question, Shaka. The big ones tonight, obviously.
What?
Who's going through to the Nations League final from tonight's semis, which of course is Panama against USA, Mexico against
CONCACAF
Canada.
Nations League.
Yes.
Get that right.
USA and Canada.
And when did Trinidad and Tobago play?
Cuba.
Cuba?
Yeah.
Tomorrow? Nations
Tomorrow.
League?
Yeah.
Nice one.
Will you be
4
across
o'clock.
that?
Yes.
Sorry, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
Well, it's not in the morning, is it?
Could be.
Why?
Time differences.
What
Is it game?
time difference?
You in Cuba?
I don't know what the time is. How do I know what the time is?
Right.
Well, it's not 4 in the morning. It doesn't equate
No,
to...
I know that.
I thought we
but,
were
you know,
playing in Siberia.
I don't know.
Cuba, New Zealand.
To be honest, I'll be honest with you, I think that game should be played at 4 a.m. so as nobody has to watch it. Put the US on at 4 a.m. as well.
That is it. That brings us to
And this Nations
the
League.
end of today's show. Thank you very much for watching the mighty England.
England, Albania. Thomas Tuchel, will he sign the anthem?
Boy.
Oh, will he sing the
I want to see that.
desperation from England? Got a German in charge.
Oh, boy.